going to be talking about our wellness retreat that is in February 2024 called Rising Strong. So Roller Coaster of Love, Rosanna Fay, Dr. Kerry McAvoy, and myself, Stronger Than Before, or Lisa Sunny, we are all going to be in Mexico in February 2024 hosting a 5-day women's retreat for victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. Ro and Kerry are there now, scoping things out, checking things out, and I am nowhere near a beach.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm as jealous as everyone else.
You turned it up. Hello.
How's Mexico?
It's hot.
It's very hot. We're melting.
Oh,
And when we come back here for the wellness recovery retreats, when we come back here for Rising Strong, it will not be this hot. Kerry says it's very unusual that it's this hot at this time. But the time that we're going, it's going to be cooler. And we've got a breeze going on right now. So
yeah. But we're here. This is where we'll be in February. We're super excited about it, though.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is actually a little bit of torture watching the beach, but I love it. I love it. I love it. How exciting. So since you're there, why don't we tell us a little bit about the venue for the Rising Strong retreat?
Yeah, it's gorgeous here. It's beautiful. It's very private. It is, we've got this, I mean, you can see we're right here on the beach. We're right on the water. There's a pool behind us that you can sort of see. And it's a really luxurious place.
Yeah, it's exclusive. So you'll notice there's nobody here except for us. That's what it's going to be like when you're here. It'll be nobody here but those who are here as guests. So imagine having a place to yourself, a pool to yourself, the beach to yourself. And then we were just talking to them about a chef menu and a bar. So imagine having food prepared on site just for us, not cafeteria style, not brought in. It's going to actually be prepared here, so it's super fresh. It's going to be amazing. I'm very, very excited. There will be massages available. We'll have one-on-one coaching in addition to workshops and group experiences. So from the moment you arrive, you're going to be pampered and have an incredible, unique experience that really is actually, I don't know of anywhere you can have something like this. I'm unaware of a program like this. So it's going to be extremely unique. I see the question of how many people are going to go. It's going to be 18 guests and then 3 of us as hosts. So,
yeah,
very small group.
Yeah.
And we're looking for people who are healing, and so that you need to be out of the relationship and working on trying to progress your healing into the next step. So it's important that piece, you don't have to be out any length of time, but we are looking for people who are working to get closure, make sense of what happened, jumpstart their healing.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Something we've talked a lot about, we'll continue to talk about, is how do you heal, right? This is something that we often get kind of stuck on, right? We start healing and we feel kind of, how do we keep going? How do we move forward? So this is part of why we're hosting this retreat, right? To get people together, like-minded survivors, build a sense of community, and really talk about how to transform. What are the practical things that we can do and actually start thinking about to be able to move our healing forward and get out of narcissistic abuse? So Kerry, what do you think is going to be one of the biggest topics that we cover when we go out there?
Yeah, I know for me, there's been a sticking point, something that I've struggled to find some closure, find some resolution, or maybe to make peace with myself. Like I know some of us struggle with feeling really guilty, like we betrayed ourselves because ending the relationship the way that we did feels like an unkindness, or it's just out of character for us. So it may be that. For me, I wanted to understand what happened. I just felt like I was crazy and I didn't really understand. All the gaslighting was so severe and so much lying. I needed to make sense of what happened. And maybe for someone else, it might be just to know that they made the right decision. Maybe it's the confusion. They're really stuck with the confusion. But so there's something that each of you will be struggling with, and we want to identify that with you, figure that out, and then over the course of the 5 days, help you release it so that you can then move to the next step. I see healing like a process. It's like there's these tiers, these steps. So we want to find out what step you're on so that when you leave, you feel like you've moved one or two more steps. That to me is really critical. And sometimes it's also the fact that, I know for me, and I'm hearing this a lot, I got out and found out that my whole environment, my whole social support system was ill, or just didn't understand and couldn't support me. So another thing I really want to see happen here is that you build a new support system with the women who are coming. You're building it one with us, so that you leave here knowing that you are loved and accepted, and that you've been validated. I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm. It is so, so, so important. I feel like, throughout my own healing, so much invalidation was coming and so much confusion from obviously the people around me that were like, really? And not believing quite the story, because some of these stories are just sensational stories, right? It's shocking. And I think also when you tell the story, do you ever find that the things that you say, like the little things, people look at you like, that's such a small thing that doesn't matter. That's like you're nitpicking, but ultimately it's just so hard to describe, because some of the abuse is incredibly covert, insidious, or it's ambient abuse and it's not so clear. So when you're describing it, it's like, I have no words. How do you even begin to explain it? Because you just feel crazy. But the benefit of something like this is we're all together. We've all been through it. We just get it. There's almost no words need to be exchanged, but it's going to be so validating.
Yeah, I would have to say, being on social media, being on TikTok, on these platforms, I have never felt so seen, so heard, and understood. And a lot of the times our support system, our community at the time before this community, I didn't get that sense. I didn't feel safe sharing my experience, even identifying it for myself. And then it made it more confusing for me to understand what I went through. So imagine being with all of the people that makes you feel seen, understood, and heard online, and seeing them in person on this beautiful setting, and having that community right there breathing the same air as you and healing together. That's really what we're looking for here, is building that community, and then just taking it to that next level of not just online, but in person, to embrace another woman that's gone through this, to hold that space for another woman, and having even your one-on-one coachings in person with us. I know a lot of us haven't, I haven't done one-on-one coaching with anyone in person. This would be my first time doing that next year in February for this retreat. So this is going to be something, it's being in front of us and the three of us together with you. So I'm excited to go. Yes.
Yeah. One of the things I just finished Joe Navarro's book called Dangerous Personalities. I highly recommend it, guys. Highly recommend it. One of the things he said that was really powerful, I know we've talked about it, but I don't think we emphasize it enough, is that, like you said, Lisa, is that the coercive control and the ambient abuse is subtle, and it's couched as you're doing it. He or she is doing us a favor when they do this. They do it out of love. They correct us out of love. Why would we reject it? But meanwhile, they're driving us insane, literally insane, and even saying our perceptions and our feelings are wrong. So part of coming here will be able to sit with that with a group of people who can say, no, that was wrong, and that was really harmful, and you're okay. And that's a normal reaction. That validation is so powerful. But then the tricky part comes is, how do you then recognize it when you get into an environment where it starts to happen? How do you know? How do you not just see danger, but actually recognize it, observe it, and set limits with it? So that's another thing that I really want us to work with, is just to help us walk away feeling safer after we leave this experience. So we feel more confident in our ability to protect ourselves. Because I know a lot of us, for me, particularly as a psychologist, beat myself up that how could I have missed it? I mean, I walked into that relationship with 20 years of counseling experience. It wasn't like I hadn't worked with dangerous people before. But when it happens personally, that trauma bond, boy, that love bombing is insanely effective. Effective.
And we're so
It absolutely is. I actually, Kerry, I remember you once said something so fascinating. It was actually in a webinar that you hosted. Someone asked this question, or it was said that, survivors need to learn how to trust their gut when they're dating again. And you were talking about how it's not actually really trusting your gut, because the issue is that you don't trust yourself. So instead of saying, oh, you need to trust your gut, we already think we were trusting our gut. Now we don't trust our gut. So you can't just say trust it. So what do you think we can expect? Or should say they, what do we think that the attendees of this kind of retreat can expect at the end of this to trust themselves more and learn, maybe a little bit of letting go of some of that self-blame that makes us be like, we're stupid for choosing the wrong person? Can you kind of expand on what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's two things that have happened. One was, how do we build trust? What does trust actually look like? And most of us, especially women in particular, I'm not saying men don't do this either, but women in particular have been encouraged to be nice and to blindly trust someone. And as a result, then we assume good motives when good motives are necessarily not actually in play. And then when we start to build a relationship, they quickly then reinterpret all their behavior as in our benefit, and that our reaction is just a hyperreactive reaction or hypersensitivity. So one of the things I want to have happen here is that we identify a better strategy to slow the process down and to identify not just victimization, but manipulation. We're getting good at identifying victimization. Someone abuses you, someone calls you a name, somebody does something that's really, toxic. But do we know when we're being manipulated, when we're being wore down, when we're being harangued, pushed? Those are harder to recognize. We tend to tolerate it when we should be dealing with that the same way that we deal with victimization. So I want to make sure that we talk about that, talk about the strategies to give us time to catch up with our gut. Often for me, I don't know what I think or feel for days. How do we build in distance and time for us to assess the safety of a situation and to realize that it's totally okay to do that, and anybody who pushes us and rushes us, that's a warning sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. And by the time you get to the victimization, by the time you get to the abuse, to the insults, to what we see as abuse, we are in too deep,
yes,
right? Because
it's often too late.
It's often too late. We fell for the manipulation. We didn't recognize the manipulation, and now we're recognizing the abuse when we've already caught ourselves in having feelings for them.
Yeah.
So this is where we can catch it and slow down that process. It's really about getting to know somebody and getting to know what is a warning sign for you, so that we have the strength to walk away. And that's kind of what we're hoping to gain from this, is really learning that confidence, that strength. Rising strong is about coming out of this being stronger and more confident in yourself, to be able to pick those out and have the strength to walk away.
One of the hardest things for me is I really like to be, I pride myself on being a good person, not just a nice person, but a good person. And toxic people like to put us in the position of having to do an uncomfortable thing that feels like it violates our integrity of who we want to be. One of the things I would like all of us to learn is that when we are put into a position of having to feel like what seems cruel to us or unkind or not nice, that this person has asked for it. Not like, I'm not saying like asked to be harmed. I'm saying they have delivered, if they're being rude or provocative, it's okay for us to respond in a protective way. Whereas before, for me, it's like, no, I need to take care of them even when they're not taking care of me. And to be provocative is not taking care of me, which a healthy response is to say, if this person's, like, for example, someone says to, let's say we're dating, and you get this, I don't want drama. And you think, well, that's a little provocative. Why are you putting it out there? And for me to, if I really want to be blunt, I would say, well, I think that's your responsibility to handle whether or not you think someone's dramatic. I'm not owning that as a burden for me to manage you not feeling like I'm being dramatic. I'm not taking that on. But that feels unkind for me to set that limit. I'd like all of us to walk out of this knowing, you know what, you don't owe this person that. They're the one that said that. You're just responding with your limit of, I'm not going to be emotionally responsible for how you define trauma. Whereas before I would have like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, that's not my job. I don't need to take care of them that way.
And then you're conditioning yourself and checking yourself and filtering yourself if you end up getting into something with this person, to make sure that you're not offering drama, that you're not getting into drama, that you're not giving that, because they've set that as a condition for you right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes.